Hey, welcome back to this mini lecture. This one's on classic ads and campaigns. Um, the first link. So basically, I have a bunch of links that are below in the metadata for this YouTube video. Please feel free. Probably best to watch the actual clips first and then come back. First one's about Orson Welles' The War of the Worlds radio broadcast, where he tricked the listening public into thinking that there were Martians invading the world. It's based on H.G. Wells' book. Do you think this phenomenon could happen again in our sophisticated times? In fact, it would happen at least 3 times across the globe. There was an example in Chile in 1944. There was one in Quito, Ecuador in 1949 that led to 6 fire deaths. I'm kind of giggling because it's so almost bizarre to comprehend. And finally in Buffalo, New York. As a result, it's weird how we can look back in our cynical ways of looking at media and going, oh, how could they be so naive? Um, Even shortly after radio became a well-known medium, um, yeah, people could be fooled in various ways. Why was this? I'm going to talk for all of these why they're so popular or infamous. The reason this was so popular and has become so infamous is that I think there's this perpetual fear of invasion, and I think in present days we think about like in terms of like coronavirus and pandemics and things. We're afraid of being invaded for some reason. I'm not sure what that says about human nature. One of the best things for it and why it was so popular is that it was an honest presentation. If you listen to it, there are commercial breaks during music. They're cut in with news clips, and it really sounds quite raw and real the way it's done. So I think it helps make people who tuned in late really believable in terms of believing what happened. And again, that I just spoke about, there was a trusting audience back in those days. People were new to the radio medium. They wouldn't think about some of the ways it could be used or misused. Second one is the Daisy ad. Why was that so popular or infamous? I would argue it deals with the fear and the zeitgeist. Zeitgeist is the spirit or mood of a particular period of history. LBJ used this during the height of people worried about the nuclear war going on, Bay of Pigs catastrophe, and as a result, it sort of tapped into that fear. One of the reasons it's very popular and infamous is that there's this great contrast between the really sweet, innocent girl with the flower and this mushroom cloud, and also it's very visually striking. A mushroom cloud is about as catastrophic a thing as we can imagine happening in human existence. The Willie Horton ad, Bush era ad, why is that still so popular or infamous? During the time in the 80s when this was shown, there was a heightened sense of fear about crime being perpetrated against regular citizens. As a result, this tapped into that. And again, the zeitgeist, the spirit or mood of the time was of fear. The Apple Macintosh ad, why was that so popular and still today? It was very visually striking. That looks very typical even today for what you'd see on a commercial for television. Like, I'm sure people were just watching this going, what is this? It was directed by Ridley Scott, who did the Blade Runner movies and a number of other great films. So it was very visually striking. For those who actually figured out the ad and they saw it and they figured out the message, it was an indirect swipe at IBM, which at the time was quite a technological behemoth, and it's strange how Apple sort of assumed that mantle today. Next one, Fatboy Slim's Praise You video. Why was that so popular at the time? An atypical subject matter, like very, when you see something that is on television, you assume that what you're seeing is the best of the best. As when you see the video, the people who are dancing are really not great dancers, and they're not wearing the best costumes. It's very typical in terms of the presentation of content like that. And also, there was an honest presentation. The performers who were performing, you could tell that they were really into their performance. A bit tongue-in-cheek, but it resonated well with the viewing audience. Colin Kaepernick Nike commercial. Why was it so popular or infamous? And maybe step back. Why do you think that Nike chose Kaepernick as a person to be the front person for this ad? There's a infamous quote from Michael Jordan when asked about North Carolina politician and election at the time. He repeatedly said, Republicans buy sneakers too. In short, Jordan didn't want to take a stand for either Democrats or Republicans because he didn't want to offend other people that could potentially buy sneakers. If you side with the Republicans, potentially you antagonize Democrats. If you side with Democrats, you theoretically antagonize Republicans. Think about that. Why was it so popular? Because of the huge star power. There's Colin Kaepernick in it, LeBron James, Serena. All of them can be referred to just by the one name. People know what they are. And again, this came out about the spirit of the mood of the times. The zeitgeist was it came out during Black Lives Matter. That was classic ad campaigns. Hopefully you'll come in and listen to part 2. See you soon.